It's good to have you with us here. It's Malcolm all out here. And Restore the American Dream is the topic today as an overview. And really want to talk about equality today in America and where we're at. You know, it's one of those subject matters that it seems to come up and divide our country time and time again. And in many, many factors. And I want to talk about that today. And it's not just, and I want to suggest to you, it's not, I don't believe it's just the color of our skin. It's our gender. It's our economic class. There are many, many things that seem to separate Americans, and yet America is great because of the diversity of the country. That's what makes America America, is the unique fabric of our country. It's all the different people that make it up. So anyways, I want to invite you to subscribe to all of our shows and our series nationally. Get involved. GetLoud.com is where you can do that. Just put your email address in there. We'll keep you informed on our national radio broadcast as well, and our television and the Out Loud Minutes and all of it, all the things we're doing. Got a lot of things coming down the pike here ahead on our platform, and we're appreciative to have you with us today. So thank you. Again, 50th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. We want to talk about equality today and bring it on. It is a piece of our... of our dream, of the American dream, and what makes America America. It would not be America if it wasn't for the subject matter of what we're talking about today. We have a wonderful panel here. I want to bring you back again to Reverend CL Bryant. We're just absolutely thrilled to always have him with me. It's just terrific. And Reverend Bryant is a licensed and ordained Baptist minister and pastor of 35 years. Bryant has a master's degree in theology. He's a former president of the NAACP's Garland, Texas chapter, and self-professed Democratic radical. What does that mean, huh? Turned conservative, huh? Should be interesting. He now believes the values that he once vehemently upheld has led the black community into a state of bondage to the U.S. government. Bryant founded One Nation Back to God. One Nation Back to God. And created the documentary titled Runaway Slave Folks, which is an amazing documentary. We'll be talking about it again on the show today, what Runaway Slave is about. I've seen it in theaters a couple of years back. It's an incredible film. He's a fellow also with Freedom Works in Washington, D.C. And we'll give the websites and all that ahead just a bit here. Reverend Bryant.
Thank you so much for having me on, Malcolm.
All right. Now, I'm going to let you try to get a word in edgewise, right?
I doubt I will.
I gave certainly, that's why I said I'll put you co-host. That way you can cut me off and feel privileged to do that. So we have a full panel discussion today, folks. We're going to do this. We have some other panel members we'll be bringing in. And we'll be having a Q&A with our live audience. So I'm excited about the afternoon, and I hope you will be too. And enjoy your lunch and just enjoy the afternoon with us. We're pleased to have you. So, all right. Let's start off, and I want to discuss with you. You have some big plans ahead, and
yes.
You've already had some big plans. So let's talk about, first of all, The Runaway Slave, okay? This film, I mean, I don't have the words to describe, you know, and as I've seen some of the excerpts in the last day or two, okay, on the film, it reminded me of how great a film this is. I've seen it a couple of times now in its entirety. Mm-hmm. Now that I got your DVD you were kind enough to give me, I'm going to watch it again. But it's a great film because it takes it on, Reverend, head on, and you expose things that I think haven't been exposed before. What was the motivation behind it?
To give those who are in the closet as conservatives, black conservatives, all conservatives, a vehicle to speak their mind and to speak it clearly from a historical perspective. So many times when we talk about emotions and we talk about unconfirmed opinions. But when you see Runaway Slave, you'll see that there are historical evidence that disputes so much of what so many have taken to be gospel. We welcome, Malcolm, those of differing views to come out and see this film.
Right.
It is only when you bring everyone to the table that you can have that honest discussion. And what's been going on in the country so long and too long is the dishonest discussion on race, politics, what have you. And we think that Runaway Slave gives us the opportunity.
Which brings me to a point that, indeed, one of the most exciting things coming out in 2014, and we actually, Reverend Bryant has been doing some dress rehearsals for this now, in fact, is an amazing tour that will sweep the country. It's called the Content of Character Tour. And as it begins in 2014 and really rolls out nationally, you'll hear a lot about it on the national programs, and certainly we'll be talking about it here as well. And I am sure I will be joining the Reverend on some of these episodic fun moments across the country. And the Content of Character Tour. So you talk about, now here's something we have in common. You talk about bringing people to the table. Mm-hmm. That is something, Reverend, I've tried to do all my life, and having spent 27 years in corporate boardrooms before I came into in front of the camera and in front of the mic. It was always designed to get those voices to be heard and make it an eclectic conversation, get everybody involved. I assume that's what you're talking about with the content of character.
Absolutely, and what we are able to bring to the table. What does your character, what is the content of that cause you to bring to the table? When you take that approach, you eliminate the victimhood that so many have fallen into. When you are contributing to the society instead of draining the society, you then eliminate the prospect of being a victim because you are a contributor. You are a catalyst, a motivator. And that is what I would like to refresh in our young people all across this country on college campuses. I'm partnering with our friends at Freedom Works in doing this, my fellows at Freedom Works. It should be a very dynamic tour, and you will join us.
Yeah, amen, yeah. Well, you know, we try to take the message out there every day and bring it out to folks around the world, not just in the U.S., but our program. I speak in Canada all the time. We're in Europe, the Middle East, and talking to folks around the world, and really trying to get the American spirit back to where it needs to be. So when I say restoring the American dream, I'm really talking about, you know, I really am talking about that dream and cutting through some of the clutter out there. You know, there's an awful lot of clutter. How are we doing in the country right now, CL? Now, I want to pause a second and say, and I don't want to make today, I'm really not interested in today in making this about divisive politics. This is not what today is going to be about. It's going to be about unity and bringing people together and talking about the many things that we can accomplish. I prefer to be more problem-solving and prefer to be more looking forward than to doing nothing but griping all day about everything that's wrong with our country. Because there are things that are right with our country, and we need to continue to work on the things that are wrong with our country. And that's something that is a mission of our platform, Reverend, you know. So as a country, we've been through a crazy few years, man. Crazy few years. The economy, the world economy, the economy in this country, jobs, unemployment, crazy elections, people that are fighting, politicians even now, debt ceilings that are falling, politicians calling each other names, crazy names, bad names, horrendous names. And then we want to talk about civility. We certainly don't have any of it in the media and in the political sphere. How do we deal with all this? And what kind of progress are we making as a country, Reverend? Or are we concerned at this point? And tell me.
The bridges that we could be building, the bridges that we should be building between peoples, that is woefully being neglected. This program that you're having here today is one that I do believe fits a certain model of what we should be about in this country, is building those bridges that we both can go back and forth on with our different ideologies and examine those things honestly between each other. Have conversation, not the yelling and screaming, the name calling, and that type of thing that goes on. Let the content of our character as Americans cause us to be a unified country, even with our differences.
Well said, buddy. Well said. Well, again, as I've been saying to so many of you out there on our platform and on radio as well, the extremists have hijacked the headlines. That's really the deal, man. And they've created fear. You see, fear in the populace. And when you create fear in the populace and you distract people, well, you can just take more money out of the vault at that point, brother.
Oh, absolutely. And fear is the buzzword. Yeah. America, a friend of mine in Canada, Roy Green, said to me, Malcolm, something that alarmed me. He was traveling in South Carolina Carolina. He said, you know, CL, I sense something in Americans that I have not sensed or have never seen in Americans, and that is a sort of recoil from that swagger that you all had, that courage that you all had, even to take on the unknown. And it is amazing how, if we look real close at our country, we do see a certain fear there that's not common in the American psyche, but it's beginning to be very apparent.
Something is going on.
Something's going on.
Something is going on.
Yeah.
I sense it every day. I feel it, and I don't like it, actually.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Something is, and it is very disturbing to me. I take it on every. I get up every day. I'm an optimist. That's just how I am. It's how I'm wired. So I get up every day looking at what is the best of the day. How could we make this the very best? But I got to tell you, there are an awful lot of things around us that are not so good, and we have to start to fix those. We're going to talk more ahead on all of this, of course, with Reverend CL Bryant. You're in for a treat. I mean, he is a special, really speaker on this subject, and we'd just love to have him. I'd love to have him. Had him on our radio program. We've had him before on our television program. It's just awesome. We have a panel discussion coming back with you that should be very interesting and give a lot of views on this subject. I want to talk about equality and where we're at, not just a subject about race. I want to get into equality, what that means, and talk about a better day in our country. And we're going to do that just ahead, and then we'll open it up. We'll have some questions from the audience and all of that. So there's a lot happening, and we'll be right back with you right after this short break. Stay right with us. It's Malcolm Out Loud here.
Malcolm Out Loud is brought to you by Zillergy. Email marketing campaigns, social media tools, and text messaging. Visit Zillergy.com and use promo code OUTLOUD for special pricing.
Remember, every tax problem does have a solution.
We have a wonderful panel here. I want to bring you back again to Reverend CL Bryant. We're just absolutely thrilled to always have him with me. It's just terrific. Runaway Slave is the movie, and it's a fabulous documentary. We'll talk more about it as well. As the painting behind Bryant, we'll talk about a little bit too as well, John McNaughton's piece, which is amazing. This is a great artist, John McNaughton. If you haven't seen his work, you haven't seen anything. And we'll talk about this piece that was commissioned to do with Reverend Bryant. Amazing. And that piece, actually, that original is still for sale, actually, with him. It's just got finished here, so it's an awful honor. It's a great honor here. So let's bring you also to our other panel here. And I want to introduce first Amanda Weir. Amanda is CEO of Applied Solutions Consulting, which provides training in operational solutions for government clients and business and legal intelligence for the commercial sector. She's an attorney that's barred in California and New York, and a master's degree in archaeology. What are you doing with that archaeology? Digging up the politicians or what? What's going on there?
We did mostly diving, but looking for treasure, which our government's doing right now, right?
They're looking for treasure. Can you help them out, any, Amanda? And then honored to have Colonel E.J. Otero. He's a retired Air Force. During his 28 years of service, the colonel was the recipient of numerous commendations, awards, and medals, including one of the highest military awards, the Defense Superior Service Medal. Currently, he's an independent geopolitical commentator, foreign and political military consultant. So, Amanda, let's start with you, and let's talk about, we hear the term a hand up, okay, versus not a hand out. You know, a hand up or a hand out. Tell me, what does that really mean today to us, the difference between those two? I mean, how do we take that in society today, a hand up and a hand out?
Well, I think that from the perspective of people who aren't receiving a hand up or a hand out, it's how we look at what we're doing for people that are part of our social programs that we fund. And it's the difference between giving someone something so that they can get by or giving someone what they need to get ahead and provide for themselves and provide for their own families. So to me, that's the difference.
So should we be doing more, obviously, handouts or hand-ups, right?
I think that we need an integrated approach that deals with the very difficult economic situation that people can find themselves in, to deal with the remedy to that, while we give them the opportunity to move ahead with education, economic development, and new opportunities.
Okay, all right. Colonel, what do you say to that?
Well, I think we have moved on from the handout process, and we need to start evolving into the handout process of participation. You got to participate in society. There are several individuals in our community that are suffering nowadays. There's no question about it. But there's also a lot of opportunities for them to participate. But if we keep them down, if we don't allow them participation in the process, they will continue with the handout, and they will never be have the chance to raise our hand and participate.
Let me ask you, before I ask Reverend Bryant to chime in on something, just recently over the past couple of weeks, the Republicans they're pushing for a bill that's coming out of the House. The growth in food stamps over the last 4 years has been unprecedented in our history. It's incredible growth. One of the bills they tried to put forth is to trim that roster down, to make it a little tighter to get on, and to try to get some of these people back to work and put a program where they have to either pay back or work it off or do something. Amanda, should we do that, or do we? I mean, is that a real deal? How do you feel about that?
I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I think that we do need to progress towards having people have the ability to take care of themselves, but at the same time, when we're dealing with a lot of families with children, and we're trying to give a silver bullet answer to something that's not a silver bullet. We're looking for an easy answer. We'll cut the rosters. You need to find out why people aren't moving from food stamps to work.
Okay.
If they're making rational economic decisions that it makes sense for them to stay on that rather than move to a low-paying job, then we need to address that issue, not just cut rosters to cut them.
Well, your point is well taken. And Reverend Bryant, we have issues all the way through our country. I like the way Amanda just phrased it about the silver bullet. Quite frankly, we're looking for the silver bullet in a lot of things, whether it's from immigration to food stamps all the way through.
Right. And also we're looking in many cases for equal outcome. And that is something that has never been guaranteed in this country. But it is something that is beginning to be expected from those who we are giving or trying to give a hand up to. We're winding up giving them hands out, trying to make their situations equal across the board. That's unrealistic. It will not work, and it has, in fact, ruined and crashed many economies in the world.
Well, it's never worked.
Never worked.
Yeah.
Never worked.
Well, in the case, and just to touch on this, again, want to be very careful. I don't want to get all that down the road of, it's hard to have these topics and not talk political, obviously. There's no way we're going to accomplish that today. But in the last election, it really, to me, on both sides of the aisle, became a situation of class warfare like I haven't seen before, of the haves and have-nots. And I guess the setting was perfect for that, because you had a very successful, wealthy businessman who was accosted as such. He was accused of that, of being successful. We began to look down at success in this country, as far as I can see. I mean, we really kind of poo-pooed it. Like, oh, how dare you be, you know. And that's what I seen was the general attitude of that coming forth. And then you had this class warfare going on. It really was destructive to me on the highest level of haves and have-nots. And I think the Democrats and the Republicans both created this very hostile environment for our society. And I think both parties played into it, unfortunately, in a way. You agree with that? Yeah.
Yes, and the question that I have to ask, Malcolm, is this: what's wrong with American success? Why shouldn't we reap the benefits of hard labor in this country? Why vilify someone who's successful in this country? What type of example are we giving to our young people when we vilify people who have made it honestly in this country, as Mitt Romney was vilified for being successful?
Well, may I answer your question, sir? May I answer your question?
Oh, certainly.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that I grew up in the same way. My lower middle class family, struggling, worked hard. My father was a contractor, had his own business, worked hard. 7 in the family. The doors of my home were always open. My mother always had. I mean, there wasn't a Sunday that went by that there weren't some strangers in the house. I didn't know who their name was. Okay, and after a while, that wears on you too. You know, but that's the way house was. That's the way home was. Mother was one of those people. I bet you can relate to that, Colonel, right?
Absolutely.
Open the doors and just feel like. So we understand that as conservatives, what it means to do these things and give back. And certainly I grew up in a Republican family, but, it's in the Protestant religion and in church. And, I get it. I understand. But I think that I always understood America, Reverend, as the place where you work hard, entrepreneurship, capitalism, you work hard, you go through it, and you do the right thing. You keep your nose clean, and you do the right things, and success will happen. Not contrived, just things do happen when they're supposed to happen.
Right.
And I always thought, listen, create win-wins in life where people succeed for that reason. I can go all the way back as a young man, okay, when I was a young boy, and even with some of my siblings and others, there's a jealous root in human beings. They're very jealous of other, and I see that today in pop culture, and I see with other people. We're very jealous of our next brother or sister.
Right.
I don't understand it. I celebrate success for people. Yes. I love it when they're successful. I'm just so excited for people. Why wouldn't we want them successful?
And also the overcoming of failure. What many people don't see in a successful person is the times that you failed. I failed in my life, but I've overcome the failure to go on to be successful. That's the beauty of America.
Do you want to see how many scars I have on my backside? Right here. Do you see how many scars right there, brother? Huh?
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. So let me tell you what. I mean, failure is all part of the process. Yeah. I mean, I embrace that every time. Yeah. There's a lesson in this I want to tell people right now, and I'll share with the panel here. And I'm probably I'm crazy about this stuff, but I think too many people live in the past. And I don't think there's a thing we can. I've never been able to understand how we can fix the past. I think we can only fix the future, today and tomorrow.
Right.
And even within our family units, I find too many people, they live in the past. If I screw up on Monday, I'll apologize. Say, hey, sorry, but you know what? I'm over it on Tuesday. You ain't going to get me to cry for Monday's work because it's gone.
Right.
Can't do nothing about it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but they're not doing that. And I think do you find that, Amanda, as a problem? I mean, I find it as a real problem.
I think that if you're looking backwards, you're not finding your path forward. So I did want to just comment on the fight between the Democrats and the Republicans, because I really think it's a false fight. It's a fight between the haves and the haves. Nobody in D.C. who's arguing about this is poor. So it's a top-down approach that's not bringing people in who are actually affected by it.
I see.
So you have very rich people arguing about how to fix problems for people who aren't well off.
Colonel, that's a hell of a point you made. What do you say to that?
I agree. I mean, not only in Washington, D.C., not only do you have a lot of have-nots making decisions for the rest of the country, especially the folks that need it the most, but they also have no knowledge of what the international world is like or what the rest of the world is like, and they tend to apologize to the world for the successes of this country. So you have countries around the world that used to look up to the United States and the ideals of getting ahead and working hard, and we had throngs of people that came to this country for that, and now they respected us for that, and now they're not even paying attention to us because we have become irrelevant. And our halves of both parties and the White House have presented that factor. He's telling the world, we're sorry about our successes. We made mistakes, but we're really sorry about everything, and we shouldn't be.
Amen. Yeah, well said, buddy. Well said. I mean, that is
yes,
so true, Reverend. Today we are apologizing for a lot of things, and we continue to apologize.
Yes, and what has made America an exceptional country. And, we run from that word. We have Vladimir Putin telling us that we should not use the word describing ourselves as exceptional. Well, we are an exceptional
why he says it?
country. Tell me.
He's jealous.
Oh, of course he is.
I told you the jealousy factor.
Of course he is. And also this, Malcolm, for those who don't get it, America is the greatest success story the world has ever known.
That's right.
Every one of us sitting here, we have our stories of where our ancestors came from and what they had to overcome in order for us to be sitting here in this place as free Americans today telling our story.
And we're in a precarious position in our country. I mean, we're in a very precarious position, and we put ourselves there. And we count too much on yesterday's success, I think, in this country, rather than looking forward to what we really can be as a unit. I really believe this is the core problems, and I think we're uncovering the core problems right now as we speak about this. I have a couple of segments I've done on my national blogs called "The Victim to Victor" and what that really means. And we've heard the stories, but isn't discrimination, again, whether it's racial, gender, or against the disabled, a real obstacle? Yet, against all odds, people do overcome and succeed these these under equalities where there's so many injustices in the world. I want to talk a minute. This is really important to the conversation today to me. We've been fighting for years about race equality in this country, and we've been talking about with Hispanics, EJ, right? You're Hispanic, you're out with Hispanics, with Asians. I mean, look at what the Arabs are going through right now. I mean, we're talking about with men and women. Women still only make about 75 cents for the same damn job. Probably does better. She actually looks better than the man, but she makes 75 cents of the dollar that he makes. Now, what's legal and right about that in this country today in 2030? I mean, where does that come from?
Well, it's not fair, but I remember my daddy would always tell me, his life is not fair. You have to fight through the issues as they come. Don't expect a cookie-cutter answer for everything.
All right.
My mother was a PhD, and my mother was getting a master's degree from NYU in the 1940s, when women were not doing that. She did not take the no as the answer. She pushed forward.
Why, Amanda?
Well, I mean, I do agree that you do have to push forward, but I think that when you have an overarching system that pushes back, that having an advantage that's not even an advantage, but a program that's designed to put you on equal footing can be helpful. But part of that program has to be metrics that can be actually evaluated and see if the programs are working.
Mm-hmm.
At this rate, if we're still earning 75 cents for every dollar, we might need to look at what we're doing and why we're not achieving what we need to achieve. So there has to be a balance between putting programs in place to push us forward and why we're not getting there.
Well, fighting for the equality. We talked at the pre-rehearsal for the Content of Character Tour about fighting for this equality. Mm-hmm. You had an interesting point on one of the panel discussions prior, Colonel, about that equality. And Amanda, playing on what you just said, which I think is really, really key, help me real fast here because we're going to go through this point quickly. But you talked about a couple of different groups of people who fought to get over these issues. Correct, Colonel?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
A couple fast examples. Real quick, what were they again?
Well, in the military, it has a history of discrimination within it. Mm-hmm. And if I had accepted that, I would have left the military when I was a captain. But I decided to look at what were the objectives of the military, of what we were doing, achieve those objectives, and the success came with it. In the process, I was guiding and mentoring folks, young men, that were perhaps unclear on how to get there.
But you talked about the Italians, and you talked about other groups, and they overcame.
Absolutely. They come to this country. Every group that has come to the United States have suffered discrimination.
Right.
They have been killed. They have been hung. They have been pushed. They have been beaten.
Right.
All of them. Italians, Greeks, Germans. All of them have. They have moved on from that history. And they says, what do we need to do to succeed and achieve?
And they've overcome by fighting.
Absolutely.
The equality factor. So, back to the point then of women.
But not expecting the government to provide.
Okay, so back to the point of women, and back to our conversation, within the Content of Character Tour, and the back to the black versus white versus Hispanic and white and what have you, and all of this conversation, whatever. So, the fight continues on. The progress that's been made in comparison within the black community has been tremendous, I think, in the past 50 years.
Absolutely.
CL, we know this. But back to women and men, gender again. So are we taking the fight? Does more need to happen within the gender equality issue and within the black equality issue? Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, absolutely. And we stand on the shoulders, all of us, of those who came before us. My grandfather was illiterate, but he owned his own business, but there was no affirmative action back then. He also grew his own crops. If it didn't rain, he was in trouble. He depended on God for that. And if grandparents before him, yours coming across the borders or coming across the Americas to settle the West, there was no affirmative action. There was no guarantees that they ever make it. But there are programs, as Amanda said, that are geared to help those who need a hand up. But do you take that into infinity?
That's what they're doing.
And that's what's happening.
And they've expanded them.
Exactly.
And the problem is there's a give and take mechanism, Amanda. And the problem is, we just keep taking from those other people that make $5. They're successful. It's you, I, someone else, whatever. There's got to be a balance there somewhere. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. I mean, we can and corporations. And you know what? What's really messed up about this deal? They're all taking their money overseas. And I got news for you. I got a bulletin for y'all. It's not just Mitt Romney doing it. Al Gore's doing it too. And Bill Gates is doing it. All our liberal friends are doing it as well. They're also pocketing the money overseas, by the way. I got news for everybody.
I think that there is a concerted effort by some, not all, but by some, to divide the groups. It is a business to keep all the groups.
Amen.
Divided.
There it is.
Amen.
If they get together, if everybody gets together, and I understand that,
Amen.
and I don't differentiate myself from the rest of the population. I'm following the rules and the guidelines of the population. But if I allow somebody to pull me away from that, they just earn my business.
Well, it's a country of tribes. We touched on this.
Absolutely.
Hispanic, gay, rich, poor, black, Democrat, Tea Party. We're all labeling. We want to label everybody.
Right.
I don't like you because you have blue and green on. I don't like you because you part your hair a certain way. And so we label everybody. You're in a tribe. We put everybody in tribes. Now, why is that? Anybody know?
We're tribalistic. We deal with that in the Runaway Slave movie. My good friend Mason Weaver talks about the tribalism of black folks. And we all have our tribal leaders. And then there are those, like you mentioned, Al Gore, and then there are those on the right who want to be tribal leaders. And we fall for that. And we fall right in line with them. And if we fall away from the idea of the tribe, then we hate you. Because the leader of the tribe said that if we don't stick together on this particular idea, we can't get what we want. And we buy into that, and we fail to be individuals trying to seek what's best for the individual.
Amen. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take just a quick pause here again. Stay with us now. We're going to bring the audience in. We're going to have a few questions. We're talking a little bit more. And really talk a little bit more about the content of character. I have a couple of interesting points to make on there. Also, the John McNaughton piece of art. Stay right with us. It's Malcolm Out Loud here.
Malcolm Out Loud is brought to you by Zillergy. Email marketing campaigns, social media tools, and text messaging. Visit Zillergy.com and use promo code OUTLOUD for special pricing.
Remember, every tax problem does have a solution.
Welcome back to our special show today, worldwide presentation, Restoring the American Dream. This is Malcolm Out Loud here. Welcome again to our national news magazine, and thanks again all over radio. Radio is a big supporter of our show and our production here, and always appreciate it, not only in the United States, but in Canada as well. We have a lot of shows up here and love the Canadians. So thank you for being here again. Get involved. GetLoud.com is the place you can go and put your email address and subscribe. I want to also give you, we've been talking here with our panel discussion on equality in America. It's one of the pillars we'll be discussing in the next 6 weeks or so ahead, and equality is the subject matter. Now, I want to give you've met already Reverend CL Bryant, of course, and I want to tell you something. I gave you a little bio early on in Rebel, and if you just joined us, you can go back later on. This show will be posted in our on-demand, and it goes across America in our national newsletters, and you'll see it again and again. But I call Reverend Bryant, by the way, America's civil rights leader. Now, I don't say that casually. And when you take a look at what we call civil rights leaders today in our country, I see them nothing more than race hustlers. There's a big difference between race hustlers and people who passionately care about all people. And to me, civil rights are human rights. And that's just me talking. So I am really branding him America's civil rights leader because that's what I think he is. And I think you'll see that time and time again as you see him speak across our great country. So, having said that, two websites quickly, runawayslavemovie.com, runawayslavemovie.com, a lot of information on there, and RevCLBryant.com, Rev, R-E-V, CLBryant.com. All right, the movie, Runaway Slave. Reverend, the piece of art that John McNaughton did, was commissioned to do, is behind you. If we can get a shot of this guy that's on the camera here, Runaway Slave. And by the way, this is the film, which I've seen a couple of times now, and it's an extraordinary documentary. Make no mistake about it. You get it. I'll tell you what. Where do people buy this thing, by the way?
You can get that on Amazon.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, and what is it, like $20 or something?
Yeah, I think it
Whatever.
sells for about
Whatever.
on Amazon.
Well, whatever it is. Go buy it on Amazon, what have you. If you don't like it, then email me at speakup@malcolmoutloud.com, and then you can send me another 20 as well. And I'll tell you why you should like it. You thought I was going to give you your money back, didn't you? We're capitalists, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Anyways, tell us about John McNaughton in the piece here, please.
John McNaughton is a fabulous individual that I met right here in this room.
That's right.
A little over a year ago now. And after seeing the film, he was inspired to honor me with that portrait behind me. And John dedicated all the proceeds, any proceeds that come from the film or any prints or the painting or any prints that may be to my work across the nation.
Okay. Take a minute and tell me, what is the piece, give us the quick minute on the resemblance of the story.
There is someone who must shed light and be a guiding light for the rest of us coming out of darkness. And John has depicted this very well. His idea behind it is that it must come from those who are in clergy or who will guide us spiritually. And thus you have the gentleman there, which he used me as a model with the collar, because he understands that it is a spiritual battle that we're in as well in this country.
As the Content of Character Tour kicks off in 2014, and you'll hear more and more about this on the national programs, and we'll have it back with you many times on radio and television. You'll see more about this tour as Reverend Bryant takes this across the country, and we'll be with him. We'll have our production in different cities, and we'll talk about it. Now, with this, you're not just the model. There's a reason you're a model and you're in the piece, obviously. You are the man. The reason you are America's Civil Rights is because you are shining a light. You are one of those just tremendously gifted people that you make sometimes. You see, and very seldom you see, but when you see them, you know it. You immediately know that, and that's what you are, brother.
Thank you. And one other thing about it, the chains are in the hand. You've extracted yourself from those chains.
It's amazing.
That's another.
His work is incredible. John McNaughton, guys, you've got to go check him out. If you go to YouTube and you type in John McNaughton and you look for CL Bryant's piece, there is an incredible, about like 2 or 3 minutes, right? Pretty quick.
Oh, yes.
It is a fabulous piece. John does it like nobody else. He does a great YouTube piece with every piece that just blows you away. Music, inspiration. He's got a great voice. Talks about it. John will be back on the show with us again. We'll talk to him. We'll take a look at all his work, and he is.
And one other thing, Malcolm, I want to have everyone go to empower.org. Empower.org. It is something that our friends at FreedomWorks helped us with.
Wonderful. FreedomWorks was behind that.
Oh, absolutely. FreedomWorks is behind the movie. But the painting itself, John launched himself.
Well, Reverend Bryant, over the next year and a half, is working on an unbelievably new documentary called
Red, White, and Black.
White and Black. That amazing title. How do you come up with these titles, man? In any event, the original piece here, by the way, is available for sale. The original, which John McNaughton has. Where's he out of? California? Utah?
No, Utah.
Utah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was out west somewhere.
Yeah, he's a great fan. Great guy.
Yeah. So the piece, the original, is now for sale. It's just come together here, folks. And is it right to say the price?
Sure.
Yeah. It's $40,000 for the original piece, which will just escalate in value as this man's star continues to go wild. I wonder if I can get John to commission one of me. I wonder what that would look like. Dude, don't answer.
I'm not involved.
But anyways, you got to check it out with this whole deal here. All right, let's bring back to our panel discussion here again, and we're going to get some questions and right up front. But I want to introduce you first again. I'm thrilled to have with us Amanda Weir, who's CEO of Applied Solutions Consultant, and she's an attorney as well. So, a sharp one, so watch out. And Colonel E.J. Otero, who is retired Air Force and is a political military consultant now. Both very well spoken. A pleasure to have you both with me today. Thank you both so much for that. Want to open it up now to questions and answers. We've been talking to you about equality today. We've been discussing the barriers in place and what is really happening in America. And we're going to start off here with some of our audience members and really take it forward. So we don't know what the questions are. I haven't asked them. I didn't ask them to write them down even. How's that for faith? And here we are. Kelly.
Yes. Reverend Bryant, first off, I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing with this content of character to work. And I want to thank you for being a race healer, not a race hustler. And I'm so tired of the division. I want to stand at one with you. And I wanted to ask you this question because as a history teacher, I am very inspired by this 50th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. And so my question to you is, in terms of the vision of Martin Luther King, in terms of the dream, in terms of where we are with the dream. My concerns are with the family, with the number of abortions, with the government dependency, and not only for the black race, but for all races. But specifically, where do you think we are in terms of the black community? And if you wouldn't mind, EJ, with the Hispanic community, where are we at with that dream?
I would think, Kelly, and I want to thank you and your group for helping us here in Tampa. But I would think that Dr. King, along with our grandparents and great-grandparents, if they were to return today and see what has become of us since 1963 up to this present day, they would be appalled. They would certainly think that we've lost our minds, and they'd certainly think that we've lost our way when they see the high rates of all types of things that are going on with Americans, not just black Americans, but with Americans. They did not envision us going off the rails the way we have gone off. I think he would be appalled. Mm-hmm.
Very good. And EJ, what about yourself? Same question.
Well, I think what has happened is that the message in the 1960s of Dr. King was very well received in the whole Latin American community in Spain and Spanish-speaking countries and around the world. And as they filtered into the United States through the 60s, it was from a belief of wanting to be an American and wanting to reach that American dream. They wanted to join the winning team. But that ideological message has become an economic message. It has been prostituted. And Dr. King would be totally devastated with how the message has been presented to the Hispanic community.
Well, I'm hearing a lot about that today, and so it tends to mean that we have a lot of work to do. Obviously,
there were people that Dr. King trusted that were around him at the time of his death that have actually perverted what he stood for.
Yeah,
that's the shame.
You speak with his widow, his wife, in the film, right?
It's his niece. No, that's
his niece.
Yeah, it's a niece, Alveda, who is a very, very interesting. In fact, you should have Alveda on.
Interesting.
Yeah, you really. I could get her for you.
I've heard about it actually. Yeah. She's more on the conservative side.
Oh, definitely so. Definitely so. You would be very interested to have her on.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Please, Willie.
Well, thanks for having us all here. This has been an amazing couple of days. We were talking earlier about equality, and you mentioned the difference or the differentiation between equality and equal outcomes. I think Pastor mentioned. How do we get this across to people that equality doesn't equal outcomes?
Right.
Because of the nature of people, the nature of our upbringing. We're all just trying to overcome our upbringing. We're all fighting our upbringing at some level or another. That just because you have equality, whatever that is,
right.
That you're going to get exactly what other people have got.
Right.
How do we let people know that that's really the case, as opposed to this sort of Disneyized equality situation?
I love the way you put that. When we walk out in the morning, each of us have an opportunity to make the absolute best of whatever it is that's going to happen that day. Will we take advantage of that opportunity? That's up to the individual, whether or not you will take full advantage of what's available to you. What's happened now is that you have so many people who do not take advantage of you, of what's going on and what's available, but they expect the optimal results from lack of contribution. And so there can't be equality in that because you don't have equal participation and equal effort. And I've always been taught, my father was a military man as well. And to tell you the truth, Dad expected no less than your best at whatever it was you were putting your hand to do. And we don't see that.
Well said, yeah. Amanda, your thoughts to that question, that quandary that Willie presents, please?
Well, I mean, I do think that it's the difference between having people understand that equal outcome is not something that's guaranteed. So I definitely agree with you, but we all have equal opportunity, and that's what we're trying to move towards. And sometimes it is necessary to have government programs that help offer those equal opportunities. But the important part of it is making people understand that you can be given an equal opportunity, and it may be a less than stellar outcome. Mm-hmm. And life is not fair.
So we can't guarantee the outcomes for everybody, and that's Willie's point, obviously. I mean, very clearly. That's not the American dream, folks.
No.
It never was,
no.
And it never is, and it's never going to be.
No, the dream is to have the chance.
Of course, man.
The chance to
and that's
succeed.
what I love. And which brings me back to this whole equality race. What is so terrific about America, what I get so excited about today, is you look around the room here and you see the way we all look a little different, and it's just so great, man.
That is great.
I mean, that's the richness. That to me is cultural diversity. Mm-hmm. You don't get that in every country.
You say this all the time. What kind of world, what kind of boring world would it be?
Would it be, man?
If everybody looked like me or you?
It would be. Well, speak for yourself. So, all right, man. Let's bring another audience in. Mark, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the reasons why we're arguing so much over equal outcomes, and which is, the cause of all the division, is because we're not expanding our economy to the degree we need to. We need to create more opportunity, a bigger pie, and a lot of these problems would go away. And I would like to, have your thoughts over, government programs that, that are being ineffective because we're not expanding the economic pie, and the reason why we're not expanding that economic pie.
Good question. Let me take this just a moment, if you don't mind, Mark. I'd like to start off and say that you're exactly right with what you're saying, okay? But it really comes down to the fact that, we come back to this outcome and what are we trying to achieve. We need to embrace our failures and understand that failures are part of that road of success that are going to get us somewhere, and that somewhere, you don't just have an instant success. It doesn't happen to anybody. I don't care who you are, where you were born, and it doesn't even matter how much money you have, because that's not the measurement of success. Many of those people are miserable as well, believe it or not. So it really comes down, when you're successful, because you can feel it right here, folks. And I feel every day I'm doing what I want to do, and I feel very successful because of it, and you ain't going to take that away from me. And that's exactly how I measure it. And that's the way I think it is with everybody that we should have. So, I think your point is well taken.
The regulations that government puts on the free market, the regulations that we put on the capitalist system, or the way it has grown to be, America's business is much overregulated. We're not friendly to business anymore, so therefore those who create jobs are handcuffed in many cases in doing so. And that is one of the things that I think must now be examined. How much interference is government going to have with those who actually create work?
Well, that's exactly it, CL. And they are, there were just the expectations. And, I mean, listen, I come from a different world, and my answer would be different than Amanda's. I believe government needs to get out of the way, and let the private sector do its thing. It's called a free enterprise system. It's not called a free enterprise / government-induced environment. That's not what I read. It's not what I grew up with. So I think government needs to get out of the way. The less government there is, the better off we all prosper. I truly believe it.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's it, man. I see more of that. And, there are other things we can do for people. And people need to get out and help themselves. And we can all help them. I see more of my conservative friends, quite frankly, give an awful lot back in not-for-profit work. So don't sit and tell me. But they make the decision, not government.
Amen.
Way to put it. So, real quickly, we only have a few minutes left, but want to keep you folks from moving on with your day. Peter, quick question?
Thank you. Reverend Bryant, the content of Character Tour. The title has meaning. It has meaning for those of us in the 60s as young, impressionable children embrace the vision, embrace the entire movement. Can you describe what your objectives are moving forward for the content of Character Tour, please?
Yes, Peter. Dr. King meant by those immortal words, let us be judged by what we bring to the table. Let the content of character cause us to contribute to our society instead of being a drain on it. He was saying that to a group of hopeful black folks, Negroes as we were called at that point in time. And he was wanting them to understand, let us be judged not by the color of our skin, but what the content of our character causes us to bring to the table. And so this tour is to refire that attitude that Dr. King had back so many years ago in our young people and in Americans, all of us in general. And I thank all of you for your help and your contributions.
And don't be judged with the fact that whether you're a man or a woman either.
Absolutely.
And that's the same judgment that's going on.
Absolutely.
Discrimination runs on all factors, economically, social, gender, the whole bit. And it really is more about what distinguishes Americans from the rest of the world, which is what King speaks about in that speech, is that American character.
Absolutely.
That's the content of character. Jim, last question.
Earlier in the program, we talked about American exceptionalism and what made America great. And one of the cliches or things we seem to be beaten about by the current administration is the meaning of give back. Americans need to start giving back. Yet it's been Americans who have been so generous across all walks of life, be it volunteerism, charity, helping others, helping people around the world. Is there something we need or we're missing?
Absolutely right. And there was a time in our communities, the church led, being a preacher, a pastor, I have to put the onus back on where it should be. Even in colonial times, it was the preacher who encouraged and inspired people to be the Americans. And once again, I do believe that charity begins in those types of organizations. We didn't depend on government to help the poor. It was our community organizations that helped the poor. That was the home that began to help other relatives. And we've gotten so far away from that now government has become daddy. And in this new, America that they would like to bring forth.
Amen. Very good. Well, folks, it's been an incredible show, really. And I want to bring in and thank Colonel E.J. Otero, Amanda Weir, our special co-host, Reverend CL Bryant, Runaway Slave. And again, the website is runawayslavemovie.com, and you can find a lot more there. And revclbryant.com and find out more there as well. Again, we're out there every day on the front lines here doing the things that matter, folks, on radio, television, with all of our platform pieces, the Out Loud Minute, all the things you hear. We couldn't be here without you. Thank you for tuning in, being part of this thing. It's a journey ahead, no question. Subscribe and tell others about the show. Get involved. GetLoud.com is a place to do that. Put your email address in there. We'll keep you informed. And also, we have so many opportunities. Our programs are expanding constantly. We invite you in, and we invite you to tell others about it and share it. And thanks again for being part of our world today. This is Malcolm Out Loud. Remember, get involved, get loud.